Okay, we got third.
Welcome to Fertility Village. This is your weekly live talk show where community and support come together. With rotating hosts, expert guests, and meaningful conversations, we're here to guide you through the highs and the lows of infertility. Whether you're searching for answers, seeking advice, or just looking for a special place to belong, Fertility Village is your space to connect, learn, and grow. Because it really does take a village, and we are here for you every step of the way. Thanks for joining.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Fertility Village Live. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Joy. And we're so excited for this very special episode because tonight we're live in studio with the incredible Mary Wong.
Mary has been in practice for over 32 years. She's the founder and director of Alive Holistic Health Clinic, a best-selling author, a certified high-performance wellness coach, the creator and host of Fertility Talks, and an international speaker and an acupuncturist. And I'm very excited, but also half nervous today and rethinking all my life choices because I'm about to get acupuncture live on camera. You can see me over here. This is the needle cam. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm not a fan of needles. Oh, hello. I've always had a needle phobia, and it kind of lessened once I came to Mary because I believe you need to find the right practitioner for you, and I did. And so this is what we're going to do. And I'm nervous, and I'm going to stop talking. Joy, go ahead.
Yeah, so Marissa was scared of acupuncture at first, and here we are. So if you're watching and you've been curious or nervous about acupuncture, this is the episode for you.
All right. Mary, thanks for sharing and coming on with us today at Fertility Village Live. Very nice to have you. And thank you for agreeing to do this because you're putting your skills to the test live today.
Well, 32 years, I think I've got something covered. But,
yes.
I think it's really important to show people that it's completely doable, especially if you have what I call needle shyness, right?
I like that. I like that better than needle phobia, actually. We'll go with that. Okay, so before we start chatting, before we get into the live, do you want to start the acupuncture treatment and then we can get into the conversation?
Yeah, we can talk and do it or does that make you nervous? What would you prefer?
You know what? There's fireworks. At this point, we just have to just throw it all to the wind and just do it. So why don't we just get into it and then we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll just see how it goes. How's that?
Yes.
I know I've had this treatment before here and I've fallen asleep. So it's just, a little bit of jitters at the beginning, but I'm sure
especially being live. And I do attest to that. You were nervous that very first time. And did you say it was painful? Before? When you've had it before?
When I've had it before, yeah, it was painful. And I had certain points that went in that it felt like an electric shock, like running through my body parts. And like just in general, I have a needle phobia. But then getting needles without needing to get needles because, acupuncture is not like a blood test that you need to get a blood test for cycle monitoring. It's an extra complimentary service that you get.
Yes.
Made it even more scary for me because why am I going to put myself through this and
right.
go into pain if I don't have to? But I know it's such an important thing to have things that complement each other and approach fertility through a multidisciplinary lens. And so I'm like, let me go to Mary's office and see what happens. And so I've had service with you. I've had service with David as well. And it's just, obviously everybody has different acupuncture styles, but I felt comfortable every time I've seen anybody here. So
very different than what you've had in the past. Right?
Very, very, very different. Just a very educated session, I would say, compared to what I've had in the past. Yes.
So let's educate you all today, because if you've never had acupuncture, the point in all of this is it should be an actually relaxing experience. It's like, what? How can needles be relaxing?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll have people who threaten me and say, I'll never relax, and then I come back, or I'll have the needles in, and then they're like,
Yeah.
and they're super relaxed.
Yeah.
And Joy has had acupuncture.
I have had acupuncture, and it is my once a week that I go and I relax. And Mary can tell all of you, I fall asleep, and I'm pretty sure she's walked in on me snoring. Fun, embarrassing facts.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. I've fallen asleep as well, but it's also because Mary and the staff here always give you like little heat pockets for your hands. There's a heat lamp. There's also heat for your feet and like a heat pad on the bed. And just when you combine all of that stuff, like what can you do, right, Joy? Like how much more relaxing can it be? They put like calming music. I
didn't put calming music on today because we want to be able to hear.
Yes, but usually there's
right?
like it's all zen.
You
And
dim the lights.
You dim the lights, and it doesn't hurt. And that's what I think I learned through going through to the right practitioner. It doesn't hurt when you go to someone who's invested their whole career in being an acupuncturist, as opposed to somebody that does acupuncture but is not an acupuncturist.
So so if you live in Ontario, then what you're looking for is a RTCMP, which is a registered traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. And that's, the creme de la creme, I'll say. And then the next one would be RAC, which is registered acupuncturist. There's going to be slightly different credentials in different provinces. So in the province of Ontario, we're not allowed to use the title doctor yet, but if I was practicing in British Columbia, we actually have a doctor title. So it's very interesting. Every province is different. So no matter where you live, you need to find qualified acupuncturists, and I would go through the College of Acupuncturists and whatever the name is in that province.
Okay. Very, very good to know. Cool. Okay. The moment of truth. Let's do this?
Yes.
Let's do this.
Go ahead and lie down.
I'm going to lie down, and I think you're going to also put needles in my face, which is good. I've had them before. This was the first place that I've had these, and I didn't freak out too much. So,
well, actually, you were very relaxed.
I was very relaxed.
Right?
Yes.
So what I find is that there's lots of jaw tension, and jaw tension, neck, shoulder tension is like, why the heck would you go anywhere near that when my belly's down here and that's where my reproductive organs are? Well, in Chinese medicine, we look at things a little differently.
Joy, how's the needle cam looking? Can you see?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, great. Oh, look, they've got the needle cam going.
Needle cam.
Okay. So, let's get into it. So the very first thing, we use disposable needles.
Okay.
And we swab with alcohol on the areas. We do not aim for blood vessels. We do not aim for nerves, because that's when it'll hurt, right?
So, I've been there. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay, so I will start with the belly.
Okay.
So I'll just swab you here.
And now, would these points be used for reproductive health in general, or specifically for endometriosis? Because people watching, today's an episode where we're focusing a lot more on endometriosis. So if I don't personally have endometriosis, but if you want to do some endo points just to demonstrate that, I'll take one for the team.
I love it. So I love what you're saying here, because it's not like, this is an endo point, this is a PCOS point, this is, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so acupuncture is based on thousands of years. So this is like this ancient wisdom that I had the privilege of tapping into.
Okay.
And so So for example, this point here is called Sea of Chi energy, and it's literally below the belly button. And once inserted, I'm like, what's in the face?
You're good. I didn't know that you were gonna do it. I'm right there and then, but it was good. I didn't feel it.
I swallowed alcohol.
I know.
All right. Anyway. Okay, so normally there's not like a huge amount of discussion, although some people are more relaxed if they're talking.
Yeah.
So that's a good distraction.
Mhm.
And other times it's like take a breath in and then on the exhale we'll put it in.
Yeah.
So what do you prefer?
You surprised me.
Surprise! Well, surprise you.
Yes, you already surprised me.
So I don't know how much people can see right now.
We're on needle cam. Can you see
Yeah.
that, Joy?
Yeah, I believe we can.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, you don't want a total close-up anyway. That might freak people out.
Yeah.
And so let me continue this. So we tap into the area that is beneath the dermal layer, beneath the skin, above the muscle layer. And that's the connective tissue. And in the connective tissue, that is where it's most electrically active. So I can come at it from a science angle. I can come at it from the TZM angle. So in Chinese medicine, we say, we're moving the chi, we're moving the blood, we're moving the essence, okay? But in the Western science, we say, what we're causing when we hit that electrical, the connective tissue, the fascia tissue.
Yeah, the electricity thing is kind of freaking me out, Mary.
Oh, no. But it's the electromagnetic waves.
Okay,
so
okay.
for example, during COVID, have you ever gone to somewhere and they put the thermometer thing, but away from your body?
Every time, the infrared one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they don't even get near your body. Well, it stems from our body, comes from our body. So we're tapping to the highest source. So that doesn't mean like we're trying to create pain with it. It's just that we're getting to the energy that is the most electrically active.
Got it.
Does that make sense? And the fascia tissue has more electrical sensitivity, I guess is how you'd say it.
Okay.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then when we do that, it actually helps to release endorphins, which helps to relax you.
Yes.
And then it does increase blood volume. So here specifically, we're looking at the reproductive organs because we're looking at fertility, we're looking at endometriosis, but really we could treat any gynecological issue, right? And so, for example,
lining, eggs.
Yes. So uterine lining. All right. So let me backtrack it again. We want to increase blood flow, which increases nutrient uptake. It increases oxygenation. It increases cellular energy in the form of ATP going into the cells. And eggs require a lot of energy. The mitochondria in the egg cells, which are the largest cell in the woman's body, by the way.
Okay.
Right?
Oh.
So I hope it's mostly women here, but women, we do it all. So the sperm is literally just a DNA pack in this jet stream thingy, like it's a vehicle, right? So it's just a DNA package in a vehicle. A woman's egg, it's like, it's got everything. It's more complicated.
Oh, well, we are so good at what we do. What can I say?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to cellular, like once the sperm gets into the egg, it's the woman's job, of course, to keep everything going. They just have to deliver it, and then it's our job to get it to fertilize and have the cellular division, which requires a lot of fuel, a lot of energy. And that's one of the reasons why we do this. Does this make sense? If I'm not clear, you let me know.
Yes, Joy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Right? So we do that. And then for the actual uterine lining, same thing. We want to thicken it. I call it, we got to juice up those eggs and the uterus, right? So it has to have increased vascularity, like increased blood flow, because when it comes to implantation, let's say you're doing an IVF, it requires a lot of sticky, tacky uterine lining, which really means lots of blood vessels in motion. Okay. And then in first trimester, we treat people all the way through. So
all the way through pregnancy.
All the way through and postpartum, and then perimenopause, menopause. But that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
And for endometriosis, really, it's like it's throughout the whole life, right?
Okay.
So
what benefits can we see through acupuncture? Well, we're so getting ahead of ourselves right now.
I know.
Okay,
just stop.
Okay, let's stop, because before we do any of this, before we go into endometriosis, I want to talk a little bit more about Mary. Who is Mary? Who are you, Mary? Tell me, for people that don't know, who are you? We know that you're a traditional Chinese medicine specialist, you're an acupuncturist, but who are you? What do you do? What's your story? How did you get here? Tell me how you helped produce Ontario's fertility funding. Give us all the tea.
Okay,
please.
Okay, yeah.
While you're sticking needles into me,
well,
give
okay,
us all
I'll
the tea.
talk
Thank you.
and needle at the same time. We'll be efficient.
Perfect.
So, I thought I was going to go to med school. I wanted to be a physician, like any good immigrant. And so, in second year university, I was done.
Okay.
And at that time, I actually don't even know the protocols now, but back in the day, after second year university, you can apply to med school.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, my grandmother fell ill and she was in the hospital, and the doctor gave her 2 weeks to live. So we brought her home. We thought, okay, let's make her comfortable before her dying days. And so we went to an acupuncturist, and in Chinatown, deep Chinatown. And miraculously, instead of just having her feel better, I hope you can hear with that background. Can you guys hear, Joy?
Yep.
Yes? Okay, great. So instead of dying, the woman gets a spontaneous recovery within 3 months.
Wow.
And lived another 8 years. So in that summer, I thought, oh my goodness, this is a giant missing. Why was she basically looked at as good as dead? Palliative. And meanwhile, there was so much hope, and we had no clue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so living that experience, I just thought, what if I could help fill that gap? Like there's a gap in medicine. And I thought, why don't I be one of the persons that advocate for this, learn this art. So I finished my degree, went straight to Chinese medicine school, and I've never looked back. Now, specifically with regards to fertility, that was like a little bit of, that was my own thing, because I knew that I would delay marriage and child-rearing years. So for me, it was a natural fertility preservation using acupuncture, herbal medicine, lifestyle supplements and all that.
Yeah.
And yet over the years, more and more came, and then I personally had a fertility challenge. And I think for most people out there, it's like you think that it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
And now we know 1 in 6 have challenges.
Yeah.
One way, form, or another. But I was certainly thinking that I would conceive very easily. Both my grandmothers conceived their last child at 46 years old.
Wow.
So, but little did I know I have blocked fallopian tubes.
Oh.
And so instead of just trying naturally, it's like, okay, no amount of natural is going to help us fully unblock this. So I had to dig deep and say, okay, do I want a family? Am I okay to go child-free? Am I okay to go through adoption? And in the end, I had no idea that having a family was non-negotiable, right? Because we could have easily said, we have a good life. We have, we can just travel, right? Yeah. I mean, that is there. But I had no idea until I went through it that I thought, oh, this experience is non-negotiable. I want it.
Yeah, and for some people, it is negotiable. Yeah. Right? For some people, they try and they don't want to continue, and that's fine too. But for you, you realized that it wasn't, and one way or another, you were going to get there.
Yes. So I did do, if you read my book, Pathways to Pregnancy, I didn't bring the copy. Actually, I was going to bring it so that you could see it.
Oh, that's okay. We'll put it up. We'll link all the stuff.
Yeah, that's okay. This. Anyway, so I wrote, after I went through my fertility journey, which was 8 rounds of attempted IVFs, by the way, which is a lot. And in between, we actually did do the whole adoption thing, even though at the adoption agency, it's like, I don't need to know that you still haven't kept going, because you're supposed to be completely finished before the fertility journey.
Oh.
Before you start doing adoption.
Oh.
So if you guys need to know goods on that, you can DM me. Yeah. Right?
Because you've been there.
Yeah. So the social worker is like, Okay, I didn't know that. I don't need to know that. I didn't hear you say anything, but we did. We did adoption for China, and we actually went through the whole thing. And then by the time we finished the home study, they said it was going to be 7 to 10 years before we get our child. And that was considered expedited because I'm Chinese and we were adopting from China.
Wow.
We went back to the not drawing board,
So
but it's like,
for all the people who tell people with infertility, just adopt, it's not that easy, as you can see. It's not just like you go to Walmart and you apply and you're good to go. It doesn't work like that, right? It's very, very difficult and lots of time and lots of money involved. And so, that's why
if I had to wait 7 years, I'd be 50 by the time I had a child.
That's right.
yes. And you know what though? This is a kicker. Because you said, you hit the nail on the head. I'll be 50 by the time I reach that. Well, then in China, they have like an actual cutoff date. It's like you can't be over 50 to adopt.
So then
you're messed up. Like you're screwed.
No, exactly. Right? What are you going to do at that point?
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
anyway, we completely digressing.
Yeah.
And so we went back to fertility, and at that point, it was. How was that? I think it was 42. I said, you know what? This is the last IVF. If we were willing to go through adoption, maybe we should consider egg donation.
Okay.
So I call it the triple pronged approach, right? So it's like one way or another, we're gonna have a baby. So this is what we did. And so the adoption, we were like on hold, and then we went back to IVF, and it's like, okay, this is it, because I'm a smart girl. Like, how many times can I do this? Like, even if I have the best of eggs, there's only so many. Like, I can't naturally do this, right? So if I've already done 6 attempted by this point, I don't even remember. It's been so many times that then we said, if this doesn't work out, then we'll do donor. So in the end, we did do donor, and we're so grateful. And I don't know if my daughter's watching right now, but
hi, Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
And she's 13 now. Yeah. So, and near and dear, and I'm so grateful for this process. And without science, we would not have the baby. But without the TCM aspect, the ability to be calm and, keep everything going, I don't know if I would have persevered the journey as well as I did.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So Mary, on that topic, how do you see Eastern and Western medicine working together on the fertility journey?
I love that, because whether you try to conceive naturally, we're not going to do that, so you can move.
Do this one, do this one.
Sorry,
that's okay.
Whether you try to do it naturally or not, you can incorporate TCM, acupuncture, for sure, right? So some people come in when they're just starting out. Some people come in after they've had a bunch of failed IVFs, and they want to keep doing acupuncture. I've seen it all. Like, over the years, I've seen it all. And it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. Sometimes it's like they're literally in the middle of stimulation for egg retrieval, and they'll ask, is it too late? I'm like, well, it's kind of like you're cramming for a test. Like, why not? Like, it's never too late. The ideal scenario is, you want to start 3 to 4 months ahead, because follicular genesis, the development of the germ cell, the egg, to that maturing egg, right? It takes 90 to 120 days, right? We're told we're born with all the eggs that we'll ever have, but they don't start out ready to drop. They start out as like a germ, a seed, if you will. So as it starts to develop, when you put a plant, right? Like, if you want to make a plant and you plant it in the soil as a seed, you have to water it. You have to put nutrients. So that's what we're doing. We're using acupuncture as a way to, like, really stimulate the blood flow to the area. You're lifting your head, and it doesn't hurt, right?
What, is there stuff in my face?
No.
Oh, not yet.
No, because you're using. So the point is, and when anyone's watching, it's like she's lifting her head, and it's totally fine, because there's not much going on. Like, in terms of,
I don't feel them. No.
Yeah, they're so thin,
but they do move.
They
can see them wiggle. Oh, breathe. But I'm good. I'm Zen.
You're
I'm
zen.
zen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey everyone, we actually have a question from our live audience.
Awesome.
So it says, can you share the impacts of acupuncture for those just doing a transfer with no diagnosis?
Sorry, what was the first thing you said? Can you what?
Can you share the impacts of acupuncture for those just doing a transfer, no diagnosis?
So for people that are just doing a transfer with maybe unexplained infertility, no diagnosis, what would the impacts of acupuncture be?
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, exactly. So of course there's that unexplained infertility piece as well, right? So we're going to do it all. We don't need a Western diagnosis to be able to treat a person. That's a really great question, actually. And the thing is, we come at it from more of a TCM approach. So again, what are we doing? If things aren't moving down there, if you're not conceiving, if you're not helping to maintain the baby, so imagine recurrent pregnancy loss or just having had a miscarriage, well, you definitely want to optimize the transfer by, like I mentioned it earlier, like juicing up that uterus, right? So what does that really mean? So one thing, you want the thickness of the lining, that's important. But it's also the quality of the lining as well. You don't want it to be really inflamed. The actual FET process, frozen embryo transfer process, they give you drugs and it makes you actually inflamed, right? But we don't want it so inflamed and so waterlogged that it's harder for the embryo to implant. So you do this so it helps to calm the system while keeping the lining thicker. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really important to have a good vasculature, like lots of arteries, so that it can feed and keep the embryo there and develop in the uterine lining for the first 3 months, because that's what it relies on. It relies on the uterine lining. Once the placenta kicks in, then it can hold the baby. And that's why, when they talk about first 3 months is the crucial part, right?
So you're saying like until the placenta develops, it's up to the uterine lining to keep that embryo growing once it sticks and keep all the blood flowing and all that jazz. So that's why we have to carry it over until that point. Got it.
So typically people, not just until they're pregnant, but like during the first trimester when it's very tumultuous. So a couple of things, right? One, if you've ever had a loss or if you've had a long journey, getting pregnant is not even the beginning. Like it's like then you have a next set of nervousness, right? It's like, oh my gosh, is the baby gonna stick, right?
What, is it gonna grow?
Is it gonna grow?
Are we gonna make it to second trimester?
Yeah. So that's why, one, we mitigate that stress response, and when we do that, we're actually helping to increase blood volume to the reproductive organs. How? Because when we're in that fight or flight, freeze, and like scared and worried stage, what happens is our body kicks into this primal way of being, which is when a lion chases a lion in the wild, they don't stop and reproduce. They just run. They don't have to think about it. Should I reproduce or should I run? No, they just run. So our bodies are wired to this, right? Yeah. So when we're going through such stress, and they've done the research in the past where they look at people going through fertility treatment, the stress level that they endure is similar to that of someone going through life-threatening illnesses, right? Wow. So, and they say that there's no real separation with the stress response.
Wow. Very
so we really need to mitigate that stress response. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then, so instead of like when we're in that survival mode, the energy, the blood flow goes to where it's necessary for survival, which is the heart, the brain, and then the limbs to run away. So, I mean, you can have a full hysterectomy and you stay alive, right? Yeah. So it's when we're in that calm, relaxed state, then there's more blood flow going to the reproductive organs or the digestive organs. So one of the things that acupuncture does is to calm the system so that more energy and blood flow can go to where we want it to go.
Yeah. And so it's not just calming ourselves and our anxiety, it calms the whole entire nervous system, the internal system.
Yes.
That's what acupuncture does.
Yes. Autonomic
because
nervous
I think
system.
it's like it's not just like we're becoming relaxed with treatments. It's relaxing our insides, that what we can't see, what we can't feel.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Accurate?
Yes.
Oh, the heat lamp. That's it. Good night.
So it's good night. Good night. Love it.
We might lose Marissa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good night, guys. Okay. So one quick other thing that I want to ask about, because I think this is so important just in general, and then it'll be all endometriosis and all eggs, nothing else. Tell me a little bit about you were on the Ontario expert panel.
Yes.
Correct?
Right.
And you were one of the reasons that here in Ontario, Canada, that we have the fertility funding that we do, which is so cool. So tell us a little bit about that. And then
I had the privilege of being appointed as part of this expert panel for infertility and adoption. So we wrote a recommendations, like a big thick book, a recommendations book with regards to adoption and infertility. So a lot came out of that, but the one that got the most press was we actually recommended 3 cycles of IVF to be funded. And we were like, I don't even know if the government's going to fund any of it. So, but to our surprise, we were super grateful to find that our work allowed us to have 1 funded cycle of IVF for women who are under 43.
Wow.
So,
which is amazing. Because, I mean, obviously it's very, very expensive, and 3 rounds would be amazing, but the fact that we even got 1 is fantastic, and not everywhere in Canada has that. So we're very lucky. So thank you for your work and your advocacy. That's so great.
And I was very lucky too, because I was joined forces with fertility counselor Jan Silverman, some renowned REIs, fertility doctors like Dr. Marjorie Dixon and Dr. Arthur Leader. Mm-hmm. And actually our chairperson was the former Governor General of Canada, David Johnston. So super lucky. It was a fantastic group of people. And there were adoption counselors, lawyers, some business people.
You guys made it happen.
We made it happen. Well, Ontario made it happen. We just happened to state our voices. So we were very lucky and fortunate. But anyway, we're back here, and we want to talk about endometriosis. Is that true?
Yes. Joy, I think that we're getting into the endometriosis and egg quality thing. So Joy, you want to go with the next question?
Sure. I'm going to start off with egg quality before we jump into endometriosis. We always hear that egg quality is so important. How does acupuncture actually help with egg quality?
It's a really great question. So I'm going to have to go about it indirectly, okay? Because if we're strictly counting on research, there is no research to date that says acupuncture helps egg quality. That said, I'm going to cite an example. I had this woman who had endometriosis. Back then, they used to actually call it through staging. So she had stage 4 endometriosis. She's had like 3 surgeries for endometriosis. And because of the severity of the endometriosis, she also had diminished ovarian reserve, because that can happen, right? Because there's less blood flow going, there's lots of adhesions, so there's less going towards the ovaries and then in that way the eggs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So she says, okay, Mary, this is what here's my plan. I'm like, okay. And she says, I'm gonna do 3 rounds of IVF retrievals. We're gonna see what we get. We're gonna do genetic testing, see if any of them are normal, and then we'll put it back. So I said, all right. But she has a very busy life. She is teaching. She's a professor and she's a psychologist. So she has students. She has patients. She also helps her husband. She talks all over there. She traveled and did speaking engagements. So just very full. I said, well, what can you commit to? Because to me, it's like if you want to change things, then we might need to increase our acupuncture, because dosing is important, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like if 1 Tylenol is not enough, you take 2 Tylenols for a headache, right?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yep.
So it's like, what is the most effective dose for someone like this who has very, very compromised blood flow? So I said, you really, during this IVF stimulation phase, you should really do at least twice a week. So and I said, and if anything, even more, because her diminished ovarian reserve was that when she has stimulating eggs, there was like maybe just 1 or 2, maximum 3. And so when we did acupuncture, in the end, she had like a total of 5 embryos. And those 5 embryos, after they got tested, she came back with 1 mosaic embryo. All the rest were, they were not normal.
No.
And if you know what mosaic embryo is, it means that I don't know if it's a baby or not, because there's some. So when they do, okay, now am I going too deep if I talk about this? A mosaic embryo, like they take a biopsy from the embryo, okay, that's about 300 cells, and they take 5 little cells, and then they check each one to see if they are normal or abnormal, right?
Yep.
Are they chromosomally normal or abnormal?
Yep.
And so here it's like, oh shoot, there's some normal and some abnormal, so that's called mosaic, and it's like, oh, I don't know what to do with that.
Yep.
So she's like, I'm not going to put that thing in me. So I'm going to have another plan. I'm going to do 4 rounds of IVFs. And I'm like, okay, but you can't do the exact same thing. So what are you willing to do? I said, can you? So she started to do acupuncture 3 times a week, if not 4 or more, during the stimulation phase. And this time she ended up with 8 embryos, and she tested them. And guess how many embryos were normal?
6.
4.
Close. 5.
5. Okay, yeah,
Right in the middle.
Now, think about this. It takes time to get to 7 IVF cycles, right?
Yep.
So a whole year has passed. So chronologically speaking, things should actually look worse, right?
If we're
Because you're
talking about
older.
biological clock.
If we're talking
yes.
about biological clock, things should look worse. But her parameters got better with the dosing. Increased dosing helped her.
Got it.
Make sense?
Well, I guess when you go and you're doing stims to create eggs, sometimes you have to change your dosing of medication because they're either overstimulating you or understimulating you. So I guess this is similar to that.
Yes.
Dosing of acupuncture.
Yeah, and again, this is one case, right?
Of
so
course.
There's way different levels of endometriosis. She was very severe case, and oh yes, she had a baby.
Okay, great.
you have to
Well,
hear
we're
that.
going to ask you about success stories. So there's one.
There's one. Right
There's
there.
one.
Yes.
And now just in terms of endometriosis in general, because we were talking about stages, let's just say that you don't plan on being pregnant, or that your journey is done, or that you pursue surrogacy, but you still have endometriosis. I know it can be very painful.
Yes.
Can acupuncture help with endometriosis outside of fertility? Just
100%.
pain and
Yes.
regulation and all of that,
Yes.
because women go through so much with endometriosis, and it's great when we focus on the fertility aspect of it, but also you need to focus on your health and yourself and your pain tolerance, and it's awful, right? So what can acupuncture do for endometriosis?
Well, let's just start by saying endometriosis is for life. It's not something that we say, oh, I'm going to cure it, right?
Exactly.
That's just impossible. That said, so I'm going to cite another example. This woman came to me. She had endometriosis, but she ended up doing IUI, conceived, but throughout this process, she did not come with the intention of helping her menstrual cycle. She just came with, okay, help me get pregnant, right? But she was surprised that, oh, Mary, like once I started the acupuncture, my pain has gone. I stopped having menstrual pains.
Wow.
So we helped her have 2 children, and she stopped coming. And then years later, she had 2 girls that got their periods, and they have endometriosis.
Wow.
So they both came to see me, or comes to see me
As teenagers?
And I have to tell you, I am so thrilled because we are mitigating their pain and suffering.
Those are some brave girls.
And well, they were brave initially, but
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Now though, one of them asks for her mom, when can I see Mary? It's so relaxing, like literally like that.
Yeah.
She told me that last time she came.
Yeah.
Because you know, in one session, we were able to get rid of her pain. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, and the mother didn't clue in until she thought about herself from years ago. It's like, oh yeah, acupuncture helped my pain.
Yeah.
So when she thought of it for her kids, it worked so well because when you're younger, there's actually less to treat. Like imagine, like if you have progressive endometriosis, right? You know, a 40-year-old with endometriosis versus a 20-year-old with these guys even less than that. But you know, the adhesions may not have even formed yet. They're just more inflamed, right?
Yep. That makes a lot of sense.
So we can take them through from the beginning of menstruation to all the way up to menopause for sure. Yeah, and it increases. So it helps with the pain. It helps with the flow. It regulates the menstruation. Sometimes we have irregular menstrual cycles because there's like more hormonal imbalances as well.
Yep. Okay. Well, that was a very good answer. Very good answer. I think we have a question that Joy's going to ask you in a second, and I feel like you might hear this a lot, and you might eye roll at this sometimes. But Joy, you wanna ask the next one?
Sure. So there's a lot of skepticism out there. Some people wonder, does acupuncture really work? What do you say to people who are on the fence about trying it?
Well, you know, I think it's really honest, and I think it's a healthy skepticism because I'll tell you, I was a skeptic, and here I am doing it. So it's a matter of like, are you open enough? And if we're looking at endometriosis and if we're taking lots of meds, or if you're looking at different ways of doing things, you just have to know that there's so many different things out there. And in fact, I told you earlier, there's no actual like really good research out there to help state acupuncture does this and that, because acupuncture is actually very, very difficult to research. Yeah. So imagine like to do an exact protocol in every single person, it's just not so effective. And the second piece that's even more important is that a lot of studies, they'll use acupuncture and sham acupuncture. What the heck is fake acupuncture? Really? Well, we found that like there's this German
you mean
company,
like placebo effect, like placebo and
yes.
Yeah.
So there has been some studies that says, oh, acupuncture, oh no, it doesn't work, because like I love to address all the negative because I can talk to this, okay?
Yeah.
So it's like, why does this research say that acupuncture doesn't work and the sham acupuncture works better? I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because the sham acupuncture needle is still an acupuncture needle and you're still sticking in the same spot. And what we are theorizing is that sham placebo needle is not placebo. It's actually a treatment. So when they've compared acupuncture with sham, there's not as much of a statistical difference as it is with when you do acupuncture versus no acupuncture as a control. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and what the coolest part is the effect size of placebo versus like that is like a sugar pill versus a sham acupuncture. The effect size of the sham acupuncture is way more than that of a placebo pill.
Got it.
Meaning there's effectiveness.
Got it.
Even when it's fake. So it's hard to study.
It's hard to gauge, I guess.
You can't really figure that out. And I guess, you know, for me, I'm pretty confident because I've been doing this for so long and I've witnessed miracles of miracles. I've witnessed people, they say, you know, there's no way you'll ever get pregnant, and they get pregnant.
Yeah.
And or you know, you have to have surgery. I had a case with a couple of cases, adenomyosis, okay? And that is common for people with endometriosis.
What is adenomyosis? A quick 2-second summary for people that don't know.
Very good. Okay, so these are like endometrial tissue that goes into the wall of the uterus, and they can bleed out, and they can thicken the wall and have it all inflamed, and then makes it less conducive for implantation, and it can also get scarred. So some people can get scarred so much so that it's impossible. You won't be able to keep a hold of baby, right? Yeah. So we've witnessed some people who literally been told by their doctor, you're never going to be able to carry. This is it. You're done.
Wow.
And in these two people's cases that I'm thinking of specifically, they both got pregnant naturally, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
Right? Doing solely this. And at that point, they're like, I don't even know if I want to, and I need to get pregnant because I just want to get this under wraps because it can be painful, or the menstrual bleeding can be horrible. And so, we just do what we can.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you say, Mary, to somebody who is trying acupuncture for the first time, or somebody who's on the fence, whether or not you're going through a fertility journey, or you have endo and you're like, how do I approach endo? How do I approach making good quality eggs? How do I approach all this stuff? What would you say to a first time acupuncturist or somebody that's considering it? I know what I would say to myself now. Before I would have said, yeah, no, thank you.
Well, I mean, number one is, what do you have to lose?
Exactly. Yes, I like that.
Right. And let's look at some of the protocols out there that the fertility doctors are dishing out. Right. PRP, intralipid. Like, there's so many things that are being done right now that it's nothing is definitive. So what's the difference? And it's a lot less expensive, actually, than some of the treatments that are out there. And
it's covered by benefits.
And if you have benefits, it can be covered for sure. And if it's not covered by benefits, you can deduct it in your taxes.
Oh, very interesting.
Right? Just like with IVF.
Because it's a medical expense.
Yes.
Oh,
so
okay.
You shove it all together. That's what I did. I put it all together under medical expenses, and I had them offset it.
Very interesting. Okay.
So on this topic, we actually have another question from the audience.
Okay.
It says, I am keen on trying acupuncture for the first time this year, newly entered into my 40s, diminished ovarian reserve, endometriosis, adenomyosis, dominant endometrioma on one ovary. Would this prove helpful for myself for ovarian health and/or egg quality as an add-on for my fertility journey? Thanks so much.
I love that. That's a really great question. And again, the thing about a diminished ovarian reserve, it really goes hand in hand with endometriosis. The more severe it is, I find that the more diminished the ovarian reserve possibly. Okay. And so what you can do is, like I had told you earlier, using acupuncture to increase the blood volume, decrease inflammatory response, can help you. Now, there is no definitive answer. There is no one system of medicine that is the go-to. Like, to me, that's why we talked earlier about integrative methodology, right? So sometimes people might need surgery. Sometimes, and we can do that pre-operative, post-operative, and to really help recovery, to help prepare for surgery. And then other people, it's like, it's enough to do acupuncture. And then, whatever, we can't forget about the lifestyle pieces as well. So for endometriosis, a lot of times, because it's an inflammatory condition as well, there are things that are really important to steer away from that can increase inflammatory response. So it's not just isolated one thing. Does that make sense? So even in Chinese medicine, we speak to, yes, acupuncture is one, leg of the chair, right? And then there's, what are we eating? What are we not eating? What are we, how are we moving? With endometriosis, it's important to move because, again, we call it a stagnation of blood type of syndrome. So with stagnation, you need to move it and you need to push things out. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Right? Yes. So it's not just one cure-all. And the disclaimer is, as we speak to this is not medical advice. This is, what I've seen, what we've witnessed at Alive and with our patients, and some citing some research. And by the way, there are research that says that acupuncture can be helpful with, the stress relief, and then the menstrual cycle regularity, and very good for PCOS and increasing blood volume. We see all that for sure.
And I do appreciate how you share about it, Mary, because a lot of, sometimes it's like, well, science is not my thing. Like, you don't need science. You just need naturopath or traditional Chinese medicine or acupuncture. But I always, whenever you speak about things, and I think it's really important, especially when you're going through a fertility journey, you need the science. You need the acupuncture. You need all the things together. It's not one thing that's going to work, and it's not like ditch the science for the natural stuff or ditch the natural stuff for the science. It's all what works in combo, right? And that was, I think that's Joy's next question, if you want to ask the next question. But I think I took it for you. Sorry, Joy.
Yeah, that is totally fine.
You know, I have a script, guys, because if you thought that I was going to lie down here and get needles in me somewhere, you didn't put any in my face, though, so that's totally fine.
Well, I was gonna put it in the jaws, and I thought, but that might freak you out as you're talking.
Oh, no, that's fine. But if you guys thought, yeah, you can do whatever you want. If you guys thought that I was going to sit here and ask questions and not have a script while I was getting needles stuck in me, yeah, that was never going to happen. So this is my script because I need talking points.
Yeah.
And Joy is definitely doing the hard work today because I you know, there's one thing of just lying down, having acupuncture done and like relaxing, but there is another talking and doing it at the same time. So yes, Joy, go ahead. Your next question. Sorry.
I think we were going to talk a little bit about, Mary, where can people find you and learn more about Alive Holistic Health?
So you can literally go on our website, Alive Holistic Health Clinic.ca, and then also on Instagram, it's Alive Holistic Health Clinic. And my personal, well, you know, let's stick it with that because I have a personal account too, but just find us through Alive Holistic Health Clinic.
You also have a book.
I have a book called Pathway to Pregnancy, which you'll put up on there somewhere. And I wrote it, and it's 15 Stories of Hope, one of which is my own personal story. Mm-hmm. And these were all clinical cases of ours at Alive. And
wait a second.
What?
All these people were your patients and patients at Alive?
The patients that I spoke about?
Yeah. Oh, how cool is that? Like success stories in one book. I love that.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what books to recommend that are books around fertility, right? Because there's so many of them and they're so different. So whenever there are real patient stories, I really love books like that. And it's even better that it's your patients. I'm not gonna lie, I have the book. I have not had time to read it all. So
that's on your next thing.
That's on me. That's on my list.
That's why you gotta listen to on Audible because you're too busy.
Yes.
So
I listen to it on Audible.
Is it on Audible?
It's on Audible in my voice.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that would make it so much easier. I can listen to it on my 2-hour car rides.
So let me tell you this though. The reason why I wrote it in the middle of the night when my kid was a toddler was because I was blessed. As long as my journey was long, it was 6 years until my baby actually came out of my belly. But 5 years I was going through the journey, and I was thinking, how lucky was I to be able to witness patients who would be in their depths of despair, but I would see them go through the process and come out with a family one way, shape, or form. And I thought, I need to share this with people because I had that privilege. Yeah. And most people go through this process silently. Even when you go to the fertility clinic, there could be like 100 people in the waiting room, but they don't speak to each other, so it feels super lonely. And that's why I love Oasis for starting the conversation and having people to have the space to be held and to be seen and to be heard, and then come, you know, just to be able to go through things.
Have community.
Right? So that was the purpose of the book, and I wanted to inspire people with true people's stories, and some of them are, you know, a little crazy actually, and I'm like, do I put the crazy ones? Crazy,
yes, that's what people want to know.
That like the lengths at which people go through to have their babies, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing and pretty remarkable. So I thought I wanted to do that along with like really practical advice that the medical doctor will not even tell you, because guess what? They're too busy. They see a lot of people. And so I provide really practical advice so that, and validation, because you go through there, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just a piece of meat going through the grinder.
1,000%. Yeah. Next. Next.
They don't mean to.
No, it's just, it's so saturated, right? There's so many people going through it. Fertility clinics are full. Doctors have massive wait lists. People are on wait lists for IVF, but it's just, it's an epidemic. You're right. It's like a meat factory. You're right, 100%. And as much as you can have a doctor that is so sensitive and so nice and makes you feel like they're your doctor, but also meets you at a personal level, it's just the clinicalness of it all, right? It is what it is. There's nothing anybody can do to make it feel less clinical and less medical. So yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for writing that book, and we will link it. And now that I know it's on Audible, we'll talk about it next time because I will have listened to it all by the next time we meet.
I want to add one thing. I know that you guys are speaking to Dr. Amy.
Yes, the egg whisperer.
Right? I was interviewed by her last year. And, you know, when we were talking about, what do you say to someone who's hesitant? Well, someone like Dr. Amy really says, you should go for acupuncture, right? So there's more validation through even the scientific community.
It's happening more and more.
I'm not going to say all, right?
It's happening more and more. Yeah.
And I'll also tell you that we see a lot of physicians around here, right? So that's something.
Who? Give us
I'm
names.
not going to say names. Over the years, different kinds of doctors.
We want to know the tea, Mary. Come on.
Yeah.
That's okay. We get it. Professionalism is key.
So I think the takeaway is, you know, when you find a practitioner, make sure they're qualified, that it's more of a TCM practitioner that have years of experience, and that they also have good experience with the Western medical terminology. Okay?
Yeah.
And again, disclaimer is we guarantee nothing, but yet at the same time, we've seen miracles of miracles, and like I don't take that lightly. And at the very, very least, I've had patients say, you know, if it wasn't for acupuncture in this process, I don't think I would have withstood this journey. I don't think I would have had the perseverance to keep going. And I thought, wow, you're right. Because it is so stressful. And I told you that earlier about how the stress of going to a fertility clinic is the same as when going through life-threatening illnesses like heart disease.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and actually, like, on that note, my last egg retrieval that I just did, I never thought I would say this, but every time I went to cycle monitoring, I would come back just up the street. I would come here and it would be like, ooh, I'm having acupuncture. It's my little treat. And I never thought I would say that about needles near my body, but it was like a treat because I would come, I would get acupuncture. I'd get this nice heat lamp and these nice little heat pockets, nice music. After like a very stressful experience at a clinic, I would come here and I would just relax. And I think there's a lot of value in that while you're going through something like that. Whether or not, like, who knows? Who knows if what you're doing at a fertility clinic is going to help? There's no guarantees for anything. But anything that you can do to help your mind, soul, body, emotions, why not, right?
Yes.
Why not do it? So.
Yeah, 100%. Going to acupuncture is the calming force through all of my fertility treatments.
Yeah.
Oh,
do you think it's a treat too? Because
I do. 100%.
Yeah.
It's like it's literally the one kind good thing I do for myself, no matter how busy I am.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Also, I've heard recently that acupuncture can be like Botox. Is that true?
Okay, now
I have not heard this, but that's cool.
I call it AcuTalks, right? Like, where do people mostly get it done? Right here.
In their 11s?
In their 11s. And so we can put needles here to actually calm. So, I mean, on another note, like it helps to increase collagen production. It helps to decrease fine lines. You know, we're completely going on a different tangent. Right?
I know, but also,
it's helpful.
Important because during fertility treatments, you're not supposed to get any of that stuff done. Right?
Yes.
And maybe you have AcuTalks and you figure out that you don't need Botox, you just need AcuTalks.
Yes. And it's so great because you're 100% right. When people do fertility treatment, they stop doing Botox, they stop doing fillers. And so it's like, what's a natural way to keep me feeling good? Because it feels like crap to do all those treatments.
Oh my God.
hormones.
Absolutely.
It's like, how can I feel a little better about myself?
Yeah.
So this does actually help with that. So we do also treat people for, we call it facial rejuvenation acupuncture.
So just a little bit of information, if you guys didn't know. Come get your AccuTalks. It'll help. I had a little bit of AccuTalks one appointment that I came, and you did some like facial cupping too, which was really cool.
I didn't do any of that today. I just wanted to keep it basic today.
Oh yeah, let's keep it basic. I think I have. Do I have a needle on the top of my head?
Yes, you do. That's a very good calming point. By the way, a place of 100 meetings.
100 meetings for sure. That's great. That's great. Okay. If you're watching and you found this helpful, make sure to share this episode and follow us for more real conversations about fertility. We want to officially remind everyone that tickets for fertility at the King Edward Hotel in Toronto. Fertility, where we spill all the tea, for June 22nd are officially on sale. They're on our website, oasis.com. So you can go there, or there's links on the Oasis Instagram bio. You can just click and get your tickets there. So do not forget, it's the fanciest event of the year. We get to dress up. We get to be around our community, whether you're a supporter of the community or you're part of the community. We want to see you there. We want to have fun with you, and we want to spill some tea.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So we can't wait to see everybody. Go get your tickets. And yeah, Joy, go ahead.
Don't forget to follow us on social media and send in your questions or topics you'd like us to cover. Engage with our posts so we can keep making these live shows amazing. And tune in next week for Dr. Amy, the Egg Whisperer, for the nitty-gritty on eggs, embryos, and endometriosis.
Woohoo! Thank you, everybody.
It's going to be so good. And remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you're never alone. Until next time, welcome to the village.
Bye.
Bye.